Fabio Grosso can put this penalty away, then the Azzurri will win the World Cup. Italy are champions of the world.
To Fabregas, surely now, Spain have won the World Cup for the first time in history. It is France. Allez les Bleus. All rise. The Deschamps double is complete.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Footy Fans podcast. Andrew, Santo, and Joe. It is our first official World Cup episode.
Yep.
After our preview show. The first round of group stage matches have all been played. Group A has also been played. Second round games, I guess you can call them that. So we can get more into that group because they've played more games. So we'll get a little more in depth with England and U.S. and Wales and Iran. But I mean, I think coming from our standpoint, the biggest result and the biggest game that we were looking at was Canada-Belgium. We watched it together. We laughed together. We cried together. We died together.
Yep.
In that game after the final result and how Canada ended up playing. I'm sure people have already seen it all before or listened to different pundits or talk about it, but we're going to take our chance now to give our 2 cents about that game. I personally am heartbroken.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
In more ways than one. Obviously the penalty miss was huge. We'll get into that more in depth probably and maybe who should have taken this penalty shot, but I just think, and maybe this is unfair to Canada because I weighed that game as if I was watching Italy play because this is the team I'm going for this tournament. Mm-hmm. In years of past of World Cups, European Cups, always being Italy, that's where I put my heart and soul into. Now that it's Canada, different expectations obviously, but I'm still looking at them to perform well. I mean, they're CONCACAF champions. They didn't just sneak into the World Cup. They're arguably the best team for North America. They have the standings. They have the pedigree now. So I'm kind of looking at them to, really shine out there. And they did everything except score a goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the game of football, we all know it. That's what it comes down to, right? Mm-hmm. Wins and losses come down to goals scored, not scored. And we could have got 3 or 4 of this one. And It would have been the biggest, maybe not upset, but it would have been a little added cherry on top to how we played because we played a hell of a game against the second best team in the world.
Yeah, for me, I was thinking about it because we're used to watching Italy play, and we have the expectation that Italy can win this tournament because they've done it so many times in the past. For me, I think what did it was the fact that we came out so strong, and Belgium was just not. I wouldn't say Belgium was not on their game, but we've seen it so many times where just Belgium just doesn't perform in tournaments. So I don't know what it is with their team chemistry being able to actually put these performances in when it comes to the biggest stage. But we played way better than I thought we were going to play. I mean, we had 46% possession to 54 to Belgium, which was a lot closer than I originally thought it was going to be. But the fact that we I felt like we had much more attacking threat the entire game, and I don't know if I would go to say that we totally controlled the game. I think we were the better team for sure, but Belgium is always threatening, obviously with KDB and Hazard, but I do think we probably deserve to win with, again, the attacking threat we had. And as the game went on, the fact that we were playing the way we were and that we could have got a result, and the fact that we just didn't score and then we took a really bad goal, which was, one of the 3 shots that Belgium had on target, and one of the really few chances they even threatened our back line. That was pretty tough. Because we had a chance and a win there, would have really set us up nicely for the rest of the group. But again, it's hard to kind of separate the feelings of we're used to going for Italy and they have a chance to win, and then now we're going for Canada where it's totally different expectations. I think it's hard to differentiate that. But yeah, at the end of the day, you got to put away your chances, and just they didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what impressed me the most was just the way we played out of the back sometimes. I know we did it at the start and it was like really sketchy. I think I almost scored off of it. But
a lot of nerves though too, the first 5-10 minutes.
But there were some, spells of possession where Belgium would thump it forward or whatever it was, or they'd go on a counterattack and we just completely shut them down. And it's not like we just hoof it back to the other side of the field. We would just play triangles around them. And it was just there was a lot of composure, which I was really surprised by, in just winning the ball back and then getting possession back in their half. That's, I think, one of the most impressive things. 'Cause to be honest, I thought it was going to be like the Spain game. No, I don't think that we would. I wasn't expecting us to get scored on that much, but I thought it was going to be like Belgium in around our box for like 80 minutes, and just like thumping us, and it was just not that. So that's what I was really impressed by, just our composure to like actually hold the ball against this team. But again, like I know a lot of people are proud, and I'm like really impressed too. But like you said, we should have won, but we just couldn't finish. So like we have to, and the game against Croatia, like if it goes like this, and I would expect it to go something like this where we control the game, but we have to score that game. We have to find a way to get the ball in the back of the net. Otherwise, it's going to be the same story again. And that's what was like something I noticed where our final third play, I think, does need a lot of improvement going to the Croatia game, because we did get to the final third really well, but we had 22 shots. Like we did only have 3 on target, but even with the 22 shots, we weren't like that threatening when it was happening. You get to the final third and like we'd have just like half shots, and like I felt like we could have been more composed around the 18. Having all that possession in around their final third and not having more to show for it, I think it goes to translate. Belgium had 9 shots total. They had 3 on target. We had 22 and 3 on target. So our composure in the final third, obviously, just by the numbers, can be a lot better. So we'll see how they kind of mitigate that going to the game against Croatia. But that for me is something that you have to like really develop over time. You can't be like, this is what you got to do. I mean, it comes down to a lot of creativity in the other team's final third. So I don't know how they're going to change things up against Croatia, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in soccer. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's by far the toughest thing to do. You run 98% of the game without having the ball at your feet, and then from a striker standpoint or midfielder standpoint, when you do get the ball and a scoring chance, like you have to score 30% of your shots at least. Like that's probably what you have to do. So very hard to like actually get it done and do. But that being said, in the calendar year of 2021, Canada scored the most goals, I think, by any country. Is what the stat was. That's including like European countries, South American, Brazil's, the France's. Canada scored the most goals in 2021 calendar year. And then like you get the chances in this game and you can't put one away.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, to me, it's like, are we putting Canada's like skill set? Are we weighting it higher than what it actually is because they have qualified against CONCACAF teams? Like the level of competition is very different. Obviously, you're playing the World Cup right now. Like you're qualifying against Honduras and El Salvador, whatever, and then now you're coming against Belgium, and then you're gonna have Croatia on Sunday. Those are 2 very different teams than El Salvador and Honduras, let's say. And even though when we did qualify, we didn't like blow teams out. We weren't winning like 7-0, 4-0. Like it was still relatively close. We did score a lot of goals, but it's still relatively close games. We weren't smashing countries in qualification. But I just think it's frustrating because, again, a lot of the pundits that have been speaking are not, I don't want to say they're new to following soccer, they're new to the game, but they're just kind of happy that Canada's here, which I mean, we are too. Like, obviously, we're like, I'm not denying that, I'm not doubting that, I'm not putting them down, but it's like, to them, this game is like a huge positive, a huge victory in Canadian soccer because we showed up against Belgium. You're the only team in your group without a point.
Yeah.
And you played the best out of all 4 teams.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be happy right now. Like I don't want to be the doubter. I want to be like the guy to put the team down because yes, it was a great achievement. It was great to watch. From a fan standpoint, we obviously had our chances. If we would have scored the PK, if we would have scored at least 2 more chances like during the game, like this would be a very different mentality on this podcast right now for this episode.
Yeah.
Like we'd be jumping up and down, like blasting vuvuzelas and whatever. It'd be nuts. But that didn't happen.
Right.
And it could have happened and should have happened. Like I said, we played the best out of all 4 teams in our group. We have nothing to show for it.
Yeah. I think.
Am I being too critical?
No, I mean, like, you have to. I think it's a big mentality in Canada that, like, it's like a victory being here, which it is.
It is.
But you have to, I think, also, like, start rise to occasion, which I think Herdman is the type of coach where he is, where it's not like, everything, like, going forward is a cherry on top thing. Like, he's going into this, like, no, we can win all these games. They proved it against Belgium. Like, they were the better side, and they could have won, and they didn't. But he's probably going mentality like, no, we have a game plan. We're going to get out of the group. We're going to like treat this like every other big team in this tournament that we could win, and we have a game plan going in. It's not like, let's party and like, we already won and now like everything else is just a bonus. I think he's going in with the mentality that he wants to win. And I think that's a good mentality to have. I think if you want to start, consistently being considered a top side and being a team that I guess quote unquote belongs in the World Cup, that's kind of the mentality you have to go with, right? And for me, Canada showed it up like the entire game. It's just they didn't get the result. And one thing I do want to touch on is the penalty. Anyone who didn't see it, we posted our live reaction to that on Instagram. I think it was a story, so might have to post that as an actual post, so it stays on there forever.
Repost it, yep.
But I mean, there's been tons of talks about like Davies being the one taking it versus David. And Herdman came out and said that he thought it was going to be Jonathan David, but he leaves it up to the players on the field on who's going to take it, which I feel like a lot of coaches do. But for me, and I'm not obviously a professional coach, so who am I to say this? But for me, I think you should make it very clear who your PK takers are, because if someone's lining up to take a PK, it's like like this. It's you staying in the World Cup implications, right? Or you look at the season, like for example, when Haaland took his PK, it was like last chance against Fulham, they won the game. It usually comes down to like a very big implication type deal. So I personally think you should make it like very strict to your players, like regardless of what's happening, this is the person taking the PKs like first up, unless he specifically says like he doesn't want to take it and he's not feeling it or whatever reason, because obviously you have to be in the right mental state, then it's going to be this person. Like you have a very clear criteria of what the structure is going to be, because then you have situations like this where this is pure speculation for me, but I think when the PK situation happened, the ref went to the monitor. I guess Davies picked the ball and like he was going to go take it. Obviously, he wanted to be the guy to score Canada's first goal, but we can't disregard the facts of what his PK stats are and what Jonathan David's are. I mean, Jonathan David's the PK taker for Lille, and Davies has scored 1 out of 3 PKs, and Courtois, obviously, like Joe was saying, studied, David and Davis's PKs that they've been taking. So that's just my opinion. I think it should be very strict. Like, no, Jonathan David is taking all our PKs. Doesn't matter who earned it. Doesn't matter who like really wants to take it. He's taking the PKs. End of story. But that's just gonna be.
It's not like a charity case. Like, oh, like I want to do it this time, or hey, like I haven't had a PK in a while. Like, no. It goes to the guy who with the most confidence, either in himself or in the team around him to score.
Yeah,
like you said, Jonathan David, he takes the PKs for Lille. I don't think Alphonso Davies, like nothing against him, I don't think he's taking the PKs for Bayern Munich.
No,
I'm pretty sure there's a few other guys ahead of him on the game sheet that are going to take the PK over him. Jonathan David's case, he's the starting striker for Lille. They won the league 2 years ago, I believe, in Ligue 1. Like, he was a big part of that. He's a top striker in the league. He does this for a living. He should be the guy to take the shot.
Yeah.
And I think we all said it because we didn't know at the time, I don't think, like that David was this good of a PK taker and he didn't have like this pedigree. But during the game, all three of us were like, I don't think Davies takes PKs.
Yeah, I was a little surprised.
Like he grabs the ball, and I'm like, I've never seen him take one for Canada. And like I said that I think during the broadcast on Wednesday, I'm like, I don't think he takes him for Bayern Munich. Like, why would he?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was very strange. I get it, him being like Captain Canada, kind of like our, like our rallying guy. Like he's like he was there from, I think in 2016 or whatever it was when Canada got awarded the bid for 2026. He was like our representative as like a 17-year-old or something going to like FIFA headquarters to like promote Canada. So like at a very young age, he's been our Canadian spokesperson going forward for the men's national team. So it would make sense. Like, yes, this big stage, it's Alphonso Davies. He's going to get the, Nike, commercial after this, it's going to be like a grand Canadian heritage moment that we see on the TV all the time. So the stars aligned.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you don't score, like it's all for nothing.
Yeah. And I did hear something where, well, I mean, I'll say this first. The only reason Jonathan David shouldn't have taken it is if he told Alphonso Davies, like, you can have it if you want it, because then he's not in the right mental state.
I feel like that wasn't.
If that's not the case, then I think he should have taken it. I do know there's the whole thing where Alphonso Davies does have more experience on a stage similar to this with that kind of pressure with Bayern Munich. But at the end of the day, like, it's not like Jonathan David's playing like in some slush league. He's playing for Lille. So I think if he was willing to take it, he probably should have. But at the end of the day, we're never going to know like what the conversation between them was. So yeah, like you said, you have to score. Especially against Belgium. You're in the World Cup for the first time. You're not going to get that many chances. So, well, I guess you are. Yeah. But you're not going to have too many PKs go your way. Or you're not going to get that many PKs against Belgium. So you have to convert on those. And yeah, I did one interesting thing, and I wonder, like, they probably didn't do this. I saw that Harry Kane, when he takes PKs, he decides days before what he's going to do, and he just trains, like, at training, taking that PK. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that didn't happen with Davies, which is, I think, goes back to what you said. You need, like, a designated PK taker, because, it's tough. Like, PKs are tough. It's a lot of pressure. You need to be in the right mental space, and like you need to train for taking PKs. So it's not like it shouldn't be in-game decisions unless the other person's either injured or is really feeling the pressures. Like, no, I can't take it. Which in that case, you should have like a secondary person that's also been practicing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to the untrained eye, a PK looks very simple.
It's not.
But it's not.
Oh,
like,
no.
It's like you're 12 yards away, you just blast it at the net. Like, it's not that easy. Like. All the pressure is on the shooter. The goalkeeper has no pressure.
No,
because you're not expected to make a save.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're expected to score, so that's like added pressure, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, they're nerve wracking. We've all been part of it before.
Yep.
Some more than others, but it's very it's very tough to do. And I mean, we can just kind of get more into the game now, I guess. For that PK to happen, I forget the exact minute. It was first 10 minutes of the game, I think. It was like 8th, 9th, 10th minute. That would have. Let's just say he scored. That would have flipped the game on its head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't think how the game played out is how it would have played out if we would have scored that goal. I think Belgium would have been like a wake-up call kind of thing. And they would have been like, oh shit, like we got to play a lot better now. Which I don't know if that would have helped or hurt Canada, because we played very well counterattacking wise. Mm-hmm. And like Joe said, our ability to build out of the back was very impressive.
Yeah.
So if we were to be able to do that with a Belgium side that was kind of staying more neutral, I wonder how we could have played against that if we would have scored and Belgium would have been attacking more, and they would have had more gaps in midfield coming back on a counter by Canada. I think we might have like played a little bit better. But I mean, in this game, like the fact that we did hold majority of the scoring chances, we did have a lot of pressure. Yeah, the possession was in Belgium's favor, but like as Santos said, it was not threatening pressure. Mm-hmm. Like when we had the ball for that 46%, it was attack. Like it was like we were putting all the pressure on them, a lot of play in their half, Belgium's half, and 22 shots, only 3 on target. Tough, but it's gonna come, I think. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we did play against the biggest team in our group first,
Yeah.
Again, I wish the result was different, but I think it does help us that we played against Belgium first.
Yep.
And now going against Croatia, I mean, I guess the second best country in our group, it's going to be, like I think like Joe said, a very similar game, I think, but just hopefully that finishing's got to be there, right? And the only thing I'll say about just the way that we played as well, and like the reaction like afterwards, like post game and everyone's comments, I think Santos said the fact that we did come out as strong as we did, and the fact that we did outplay them like we did, it's a different reaction coming from the loss, as if like if Belgium was on the front foot, and like we just kind of held off and we were like getting by with the skin of our teeth, and they scored a goal, and like we just lost 1-0. It'd be a very different reaction if that was the case. Then it'd be like, okay, yeah, we played pretty good. Like, like we played against Belgium for Pete's sake. You know, they were a really good team. But it was the opposite effect. Yeah, it's like we played so good, we should have won this game. Yeah, that's the killer part of it.
And that's why I'm like I was saying, I think right after the game, it's like, man, if we were just on the back foot the whole game and they got one goal, it's like, that's really good. We defended really well. Yeah. It's like
I would take more positives out of a loss like that than what I get out of this game. I'm taking more negatives out of this game than if the result was the same, but if we got shit on.
And I think it's because I'm expecting, like I said, I'm expecting the same thing against Croatia. I'm just concerned, like, how many shots do we need to score?
Will we finish?
Yeah, will we finish? Because we'll probably have a similar amount of chances that game than we did this game. So it's like, are we gonna have composure enough to score? So I don't know.
I'm really thinking that for the Croatia game, I think Herdman will put Larin and David together. Because I think, like today or this game, he started David first, and then Larin came on as a sub, I think, for Larea, or I believe it was.
Yep.
Or I think that's what it was.
Yep.
So I think heading into the next one, I was kind of surprised Larin didn't get the start in this game as well. Because like I think you just got to go like your best possible side forward. Like you're only here. I mean, hopefully not just once, but this is your first World Cup appearance in 36 years. Yeah, like you have to start your best, most attacking, threatening side going forward. And I think Larin and David together, whether they play like two strikers or they play a front three and one of them goes out wide, I think that is our best chance to score. How did we line up? Yeah, so we did play like a single striker.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a 3-4-3.
So I think maybe instead of Hoy that you put Larin there and do like a trifecta of Buchanan, Larin, and David. Buchanan showed up. He played really well.
Yeah, he was good.
He had tons of chances going forward. Nice, flashy young kid playing for Bruges in Belgium. So he's used to like the Belgian, not these players because they don't play in Belgium. A lot of these guys, but he's used to like the culture of like the Belgian game a little bit. But he showed up. He played very well defensively. Other than just the one long ball over top, like we played very well. Borjan didn't have to make many saves. Like, man, what could have been from this game? And again, if it was a loss too, like you couldn't even sneak out a draw. I said it before. We played the best out of Morocco, Croatia, Belgium, and Canada. We played the best. We showed the best. Yeah. Out of all four teams, and we have nothing to show for like in this standings. Yeah. Which is all that matters at the end of the game. Yeah. Very tough. To some other maybe controversial instances in the game, another missed call. I don't know how it was not given a PK. I think it was Larea got fouled in the box. Yeah, got his foot stepped on very clearly by Axel Witsel. Yeah, like
I'm still confused.
It didn't even VAR didn't even look at it, or they did, and they deemed it not even a foul. So I don't know how.
Yeah,
that's a thing. I mean, we've seen VAR do some goofy things already in this tournament.
Yeah,
I'm honestly I feel like this isn't the case. Part of me is honestly a little concerned that they just didn't see the footstep, where they just looked at the push contact in the back and just deemed that not a PK. Like, part of me is actually concerned that they just didn't see him step on his foot. Which I'm assuming I'm wrong, but there's doubt for me with VAR sometimes because they just miss blatant things. So it's a question as to how you're missing these blatant things, because there's no reason why it shouldn't have been a PK. I mean, Witzel's clearly behind Larea, steps on his foot, and it's a PK every day of the week. So that's I don't know. I don't really know what to say other than it's just something they clearly missed.
Yeah. And I've heard some pundits say like, he initiated contact which, you know, maybe like, yes, okay, maybe he does stick his leg a little bit out to the left, but if you get stepped on, I mean, you go back to the Portugal-Ghana game. Who did they play? Who did
That's right, yeah.
Did they play Ghana? Yeah. Ronaldo's PK was like way less contact. It was like the same contact minus the foot stomp, and he got a PK for it.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes back to. It's like no consistency for what's even a foul anymore. So I'm just super, because I saw it. I'm like, well, that's exactly what happened in the Canada game, and he's getting a PK, and Barb's like, yep. So it just doesn't really make any sense to me.
Is that situational on who it is?
Probably.
Yeah.
And that and I really don't like that this is probably a thing, but the fact that Canada already had a PK, I feel like it's
They can't give them two.
It's like human nature almost, where you're almost looking for a reason to not give another one.
But you can't take the legitimacy out of what a penalty is.
For sure.
Like that's
100%.
Yeah.
I
especially
feel like
now on the world stage. Like the world's watching.
Yeah.
Like we talk VAR every week on the Footy Fans podcast from the Premier League standpoint. And that's just the Premier League. And there's every single week there's, for all of our listeners, there's at least 20 minutes of podcast we put aside for VAR talk.
Yeah.
And that's just on one weekend of football in England. This is the world stage, World Cup. There's 4 games a day. Like there's been, I don't know what math.
Yeah.
32 games already played. No,
Yeah.
16 games already. 18.
I don't know.
A lot of games already played.
Yeah.
And I mean, VAR it's been there. It's been looked at a few times already. Whatever, I don't know. Like pick a side, but it's frustrating as hell. And I don't want to make this like a talking point. I don't want to like get scrutinized for this or anything. But the fact that all these referees are from different parts of the world too, and like they don't have maybe the same caliber of players in their league or the same like. It's very different, you know what I mean? Like the referees for this game for Belgium and Canada were from Zambia.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying the Zambian soccer league isn't good, which it might not be. But, like, you're taking the best officials from Zambia and you're putting them in the World Cup with Belgium and Canada.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that plays a factor somewhat where like, they're just not exposed to this caliber of soccer. They're not exposed to these players, like the stage, you know, as opposed to, you know, Anthony Taylor, who's going to be doing games for the English, you know, refereeing corps, or the Italian referees at Ref Serie A. You know, it's very different.
Yeah.
Exposure for the referees as well. And they have a hard enough job as it is. But now, again, in the world stage of the World Cup, you're being scrutinized, way broader, you know, audience is watching.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot more pressure on these referees. And it's like, I just don't want it to come down to something like, again, a VAR controversy in like the semifinal for the team to go to the World Cup final. Like, I don't want it to be that storyline as the tournament goes on when we do see stuff like this happen. Like it's happened in the Canada game, arguably the Portugal-Ghana game. Today, Qatar could have had an easy penalty shot that was not given for a very similar foul. It got fouled from behind.
Yeah.
Like going on net, it was not called, but it's the exact same thing as Ronaldo.
Yeah. I think it's more so, it doesn't really matter what the referee's from. You just need referees that are used to this pace of play.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Like I don't I picked this game out of because this is what I saw. It's you watch this game, referees from Zambia, Belgium, Canada, World Cup. It just doesn't add up. You know?
Yeah. And no, I mean, when I go back to this, for whatever reason, I feel like refs forget how to the ref when the foul's inside the box. It's like, I'm pretty sure if Larea's running down the touchline and Witzel comes from behind, nowhere near the ball, and there's like a foot stomp and he goes over, it's getting called for sure. Not like, oh, he initiated contact and he sticked out. It's like, no, like it's a foul.
Yeah,
it's a foul. And then what's interesting about the other one, where it like they called it offside when it clearly shouldn't have been. Hazard passed it back to Buchanan, I think, and then it's like they said Toby goes in for the tackle and he kicks Buchanan. Well, his follow through against Buchanan. It's like, but if you look really closely at the replay, he gets a toe on the ball. It's like, yeah, but he's obviously still reckless because his studs are still showing and he's like going through his ankle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like, for sure, that's probably a foul in the middle of the field because it's like, oh, you're not really in control anymore. But it's like, oh, like for whatever reason in the box, like, oh, like you can do that. Just like, where's the contact on the ball? It's like, no, but if you're still out of control, it's does showing and it's reckless. It's still a foul. So I don't know why VAR didn't understand those 2 points or for at least like, oh, he got a touch on it, not a foul. It's like, well, no, but like you can see his studs showing. Like, why don't you call the ref over to make the decision for himself? Because the ref for sure didn't see the foot stomp, probably. And he probably, because the offside happened. So he's like, oh, offside, I don't have to make a decision. Well, he didn't get a call. It's like, well, it's actually not offside. And there's a situation where his studs are showing. And you got to like make a call as if it's like reckless or not. The fact that VAR makes that decision for him when he's not even thinking about those two things makes no sense.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
And that's what I find difficult too, because it's, again, when people are in the VAR booth, they're away from the situation. Their emotion is not in the game.
Yeah.
They're just like sitting behind a computer like we are right now. Like,
yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, they have no skin in the game. Like, they're not running around with these players. They're not talking to the players every single time. They're not the one that's to deal with the camera on them. Like,
yeah.
when they make a decision. So good point. And it's, I don't know if VAR could have even looked at that because it was called offside, but like,
no, they could have.
I don't know how that would have worked because there's always stipulations with VAR.
Well, because I think because the ref, the foul happened after the ref, or no, the foul happened before the ref blew the whistle.
Oh,
the foul was still like active, I guess.
Okay,
is what I heard, and because that's what the pundits saying. They're like, oh, but like I don't think it should have been a PK because he got a touch on the ball. It's like that doesn't matter.
It's still reckless. Yeah.
It's like you go in 2 feet and get a touch on the ball. Like it's still a foul.
That's red card.
You know what I mean?
Red card.
Red card. It's like, oh, you got a touch on the ball. It's like the box does not dictate any sort of contact on the ball means it's not a foul. It's like there's clearly other factors that go into if it's a foul or not.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I mean. I think, sure, the ref probably, like, for the offside's understandable. He's like, oh, it's offside. Shouldn't have been. But the fact that he didn't get called over for that, like I said, and he didn't get called over for the foot stomp doesn't really make any sense. Because, like I said, if you're a ref, you're in the game. You, in your mind, you're aware of like what was happening in real time there, where VAR's just looking at a slow mo, like in a box type
Frame
thing, which
by
really
frame.
doesn't dictate like what actually happened in that phase of play. So
yeah,
very, very strange for me.
The stomp one on Larea really frustrates me because that's very much like what VAR is there to do.
Mm-hmm.
Referee thinks it's just a foul in the back, but it's actually not. It's way more worse than what it is.
Yeah.
VAR is supposed to look at it and say, like, bro, like he got stepped on. Like that's more than what you thought.
Yeah.
I don't know why that wasn't given. Very frustrating from our Canadian standpoint. 1-0 loss to Belgium. It's the final score there. Luckily for us, though, in the group as well, Morocco and Croatia did tie earlier in the game, so damage limitation, I guess. I mean, if you were going to lose this game, which we did, that's another thing too. We in their preview episode, we said probably win, draw, loss would be what Canada is most expected to do maybe in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be, maybe not ideal, but that would be like what we would think is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 4 points.
Yeah.
You had a chance to get 3 points in your first game against the best team in your group.
Yeah.
Blown opportunity. That being said, the other game was a draw, so like you're only 1 point back now.
Yeah.
So but I think Joe said it actually on Wednesday when we were watching the game. This loss, like what this loss means, and the draw that came from Morocco and Croatia, you have to win your next 2 games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, it's like you can't lose to Belgium, maybe draw Croatia, and then try and maybe beat Morocco and hope Croatia ties Belgium, like some other crazy like situational thing. You have to get 6 points now from your next 2 matches.
Yeah, because if you tie Croatia and for whatever reason, because Belgium, like you would think they'd beat Morocco, if you tie Croatia and something crazy happens in the Belgium game, then you're out. And you're like, if you don't beat Croatia, you're not in control of your destiny anymore.
Yeah,
you don't want
the first game of any tournament is the most crucial because it sets you up for better odds. Depending on what you do, getting a win or a draw, a win preferably. Good at getting a draw your first game. Not the end of the world. Lost your first game, tough.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there must be some stats on hand where like it's a probably very small percentage of teams get out from losing their first game. I don't know what the number is, but
you
I
can probably
doubt.
check like odds of making out of group after losing your first game and like odds of getting out of your group after winning the first game are probably very high.
Yeah, I would think so. And I mean, it puts us behind the 8 ball now, and if we do come out the same way against Croatia on Sunday, which they'll be they'll probably want to play better too than how they did against Morocco. I mean, you would think Morocco was like the weakest team in the group. Croatia should have came out and really destroyed them, but kind of like what we alluded to in our podcast, our preview episode, Croatia just had nobody finishing, kind of like how Canada did. They didn't generate as many chances as Canada did, but you could really tell the lack of finishing from the Croatian side. They just don't have a Jonathan David. They don't have a guy who's gotten 25 goals, 30 goals a season in a top tier league like David has in Liga in France. So that kind of helps me, like it puts me at ease a little bit, maybe. Like they might have to try and find some secondary scoring for the Croatians.
Yeah.
But us, if we just play the way that we did, but we just convert one of our 22 chances, then I think we could, see a positive result against Croatia if the game goes how we hope it to go.
Yeah.
Based on our game against Belgium.
Yeah. I mean, like you guys said, like this is for sure a must win. But I feel like Canada's going to like really come out this game because I feel like there is some confidence they could take from the Belgium game. It's just, again, my whole fear is that like us being able to be clinical in the final third because we just really didn't take our chances, obviously. I am a little concerned of little number 10 Modric running around. Because I do find with Belgium, they had Tielemans, Kevin De Bruyne was like a shadow of what he is for Man City. Hazard was like in and out of the game. I'm just really worried for Modric because like he shows up. Like I feel like I've never seen him have a bad game. He always shows up for his team. So my whole concern is that when we really bossed, I think, Belgium in the middle of the park. There were instances where we had some gaps there, but Belgium weren't really clinical and taking advantage of it. My whole worry is that if you have like Modric running around, like the guy obviously knows what he's doing, and I feel like he's gonna find some gaps. The guy can ping a pass. So that's just my whole concern. That even though I wouldn't put Croatia as good as an overall team against Belgium, I'm just a little worried about how he's gonna exploit our midfield that Belgium weren't able to do. Because again, like go back to the Champions League final. Or no, Champions League against Man City, when guy picks up the ball on the touchline, just pings a pass in the 18, they just put it in the back of the net. Belgium didn't have that, and I don't know how Canada's going to like manage that against them. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Kevin De Bruyne's he's not that far off Modric. And we were able to.
I think he's better, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. I think he's better too. It's just Kevin De Bruyne and Belgium. Whenever Belgium shows up, it's not the KDB who.
Right.
We'll have to see. I mean, like Andrew said, like it's not like Croatia have a really threatening number 9 either.
Yeah.
Not because it's not like Real Madrid where he's like pings the ball to Benzema, who's on like an informed Karim Benzema, who's gonna put in anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might be a little bit different, but maybe we can shut him down in the middle of the park. We kind of did this game, and what I also liked about Canada is like how quick we were to like close down the ball out of possession. So maybe it'll be similar to that, where some other teams who maybe think they're against a better side try and drop off and defend, where Canada's just like, no, we got to win the ball back. So if they can do that, I think they got to just approach the same way they did Belgium, just go on the front foot, press really high, and I think it should be fine, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think what Herdman had Canada do was have Eustachio on De Bruyne.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the matchup to watch. I think during the preview show they kind of said that they alluded to that he was going to be not like man marking De Bruyne, because I don't think Eustachio is more of like a defensive midfielder. I think he likes to get forward and attack. But it was like when you're in the middle of the pitch, like you be around him, like don't give him space, kind of thing. So if they try and do the same thing with Modric, with Eustachio or Osorio, whoever goes in there at the time, whoever else can play the center mid spot, I think they might be able to kind of contain him. But we did see, like, when there was chances that Canada did get broken down, like, our middle of the pitch was exposed.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't do a very good job with that. Because there was a couple of times that Belgium had numbers going back or going towards Canada's end, and it was, like, 5-on-3 or something.
Yeah.
Or De Bruyne was, like, carrying the ball in space, which he never wanted to do that because he's just clinical, he's lethal, he can score, he can make a pass, in any kind of space. So there was a few times that did happen, but I mean, we did shut them down for the most part. It was a long ball that went in. Like it was like they didn't break us down. It wasn't like Our easiest reference for us is like a Man City game when they have possession around the box. They do tiki taka and like a tap in for Haaland. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
That wasn't even nothing like that even was close to happening at any spell of the game.
Yeah.
Like Belgium tried a little bit, but we shut them down. It was a long ball over the top. Defenders got beat, and then they scored.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's gonna happen, and like that's how good teams do find ways to win, because if they can sense that they won't be able to gain possession against us, they won't be able to break us down. They have to try something different. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
44th minute too, like right before halftime. Like,
Yeah.
And you're saying it too. It's like, I don't want this to happen. We're controlling the game, and then Belgium get like some crappy goal right before half, and then like, and it just play by play happen exactly like that, which is the worst, right? You're being on the front foot and getting scored on before half is like the biggest punch in the gut they have.
It changes a lot of things. It changes what Herdman's thinking at halftime.
Yeah.
It changes the team's mentality going in the second half. It changes what he would do substitution wise and tactically, because that's what you would do, right? At halftime, you get your players all in a group, make adjustments, do this and that. They had to flip the script because now they're trailing at halftime.
Yeah.
While outplaying Belgium, like crazy for 44 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
43 minutes, I guess let's call it that. So yeah, that's our little Canada wrap. I mean, it was, again, I'll conclude on this from my point of view. It was a hell of a game to watch.
Yeah,
and to be a part of. It was exciting. It was very cool. We were locking arms at the beginning of the game, singing the "O Canada." Like it felt really cool. I felt very patriotic. I wouldn't do the same thing for Olympics hockey as most people maybe would in this country, but for Canada football, for the World Cup, it was very cool to be like Canadian supporter.
Yeah.
For once, like when it actually mattered on like the world stage for Canada.
Yeah.
So I think from my point of view, again, it was very. It was a little emotional. It was very cool.
Yeah, it was cool to
but
cool to be a part of like the first time.
Yeah. But the final result for me is just it's tough to get over that, based on how he did play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, very very cool to see it for the first time in our lifetime. And for Canada to feel like we're actually like competitive. Well, seemingly now that we're actually competitive because the first time we were in the World Cup.
Not so much.
Not really.
Not competitive.
I think, like I know we didn't score, but like I think our shots like on target was like,
I think we had like
3.
Yeah,
for the whole tournament.
Like for all 3 games. Like I think our biggest success was losing 1-0 to France, which was what I thought this Belgium game was going to be. Like France just like running over us and like only scoring once was like our biggest success. So it is different now, but again, really cool to see the Canada flag like on the field.
Yeah,
that was cool.
So the other country that we're going to really keep a close eye on, England. Dominating performance first game. Let's call it that. Pretty dominating.
Yeah.
Going against Iran in the first match of their group, 6-2 victors, goes to the side of England. There's nothing to really talk about much in this game. Like they played against Iran, very different sides, very different caliber of players, you could say. They played good, obviously. They won 6-2. But for me, the takeaway was Saka. I think like his performance, because on Arsenal, he's more of like the setup kind of guy. He will get his chances with his pace and his technical ability, but for him to score 2 great goals in this game.
Yeah.
And just to be threatening the whole time, like clearly, like look at the score sheet here. It's all wing play for the majority of the goal scorers here.
Yeah.
Harry Kane had 2 assists. I'm not sure how many shots he had towards the net, but he was more of like a target kind of layoff guy to the speedy wingers of Saka and Sterling, who both ended up scoring this game. Rashford came on, scored 30 seconds after he came on, basically. Jack Grealish got a goal for himself too. That's a nice little confidence booster for him, because he doesn't score many goals, even though he works his ass off a lot of the time.
Yep.
And the young kid Jude Bellingham scored the first goal for England in this tournament. So like from Southgate's standpoint, like this game won, like everything clicked.
Yeah.
And like we said, like winning your first game is huge. Them getting the matchup against Iran, like game 1, it's obviously a positive for them going forward. Like they were probably looking forward to this game to get off on the front foot. But coming back today, actually recording this podcast on Friday night. So the second game of this group just wrapped up a couple hours ago. England versus USA. Very different game.
Yeah.
0-0 draw, the final in this one. And, I mean, you would think that this is probably the toughest matchup for the group, I guess, for England's point of view. But I'm surprised that they didn't actually score or pull a result from this one.
Yeah. Going back, I just want to touch on the Iran game.
Yeah.
The fact that England's finally lining up as a 4-2-3-1 is kind of relieving to me. I've never understood them playing 3-3 in the back with wingbacks going.
Wait. Low-key, Harry Maguire starting was kind of hilarious.
Yes.
Why is this guy here?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's there. Granted, they played Iran first match, so they were kind of in control. During the England US game, he didn't really have any like crazy things happen, but I'm going to touch on that. But it's just good to see them lining up, in a way that I feel like actually complements their team. But for me, like honestly, with this England US game, I thought US were the better side. Just the way they were just handling England, especially on the counter, like they were not giving Harry Kane any time on the ball. I think, I don't know how it ended, but I think by the 85th minute, Harry Kane only had one touch in the US box in the second half.
He was withdrawing a lot. He was coming back a lot in this game
because they were like the US, and this kind of goes to where I think we talked about where the gaps are in the England side, where the US were just bossing them in the middle of the field. Adams was just like unbelievable this game. He was running around everywhere, just not giving them any time on the ball. And US was just taken to him, like they were creating chances. I feel like if England would have scored late in the game, I feel like it would have been really hard done by to the US. Mm-hmm. Because they were just constantly on the attacking foot against them. So I thought that was pretty cool. I would have thought England, it would have been kind of reversed, where England was kind of just in control of this game, but credit to the US for really coming out. But now US is sitting with 2 ties. Got to win your next one. I think they'll get it done against Iran. And that loss to Wales now is it's really good for the US.
Yeah,
didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, that game was pretty cool today. Iran versus Wales.
I didn't watch the highlights, but that's
wild.
Really good for the US. And the fact that they tied England's like probably like best case scenario, obviously aside from the US winning. But yeah, they're in control. They just got to beat Iran, which I think they will, but. Who knows? We could see
Iran beat Iran beat Wales.
But that's the thing. You could see Iran just like.
When did the red card come for Wales?
It was the goalkeeper. It was in the 70th minute.
Okay, so it was already
86th.
Oh, so it was already
red card was 86th.
Yeah, Wayne is 86th.
So they scored before then.
No, the goals came after.
Yeah,
after the red card.
90.
Yeah. That's why
90 plus
I
8, 90 plus 11.
That's why I thought it was so soon. So. We'll touch on England.
Whoa! What happened this game?
We'll touch on England a bit more before we jump to some other topics. But do we think they'll get out of the group against Wales in the last game?
England?
Yeah. Like they just need to pull a result against Wales.
Yeah, I mean they're going to get out of the group. But you would think. I think even if they lose, they'll still get out of the group.
Wales.
I think they just have to not win. They have to not lose by 4 goals. I mean, yeah. So they're gonna get out of the group. Mm-hmm. You would think.
Yeah, comfortably. Probably,
yeah.
Right? What? Just can't lose. Just don't lose.
Yeah. Don't lose. And if you do lose, don't lose by a lot.
Yeah.
And then you'll get out of the group probably. But should get out, I would think.
Yeah. So some of the bright spots I think were just a lot of the wing play from England. Like I said, we did touch on it before, where I think Harry Kane would have to really in the games where they're not heavily the favorite, Kane's gonna be heavily relied on, because wing play, you can only do so much on wing play. You can only have so many opportunities to flood the box and get goals from the wings. You have to start looking to your striker to actually be like the guy to get the goals for you.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said in this game, like Santo made a good point. Like he got neutralized by the American midfield and defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like he played, and like nothing against Kane too. He's obviously top 5, let's say, striker in the world, top 10.
Yeah.
So like he knows what to do. Like, it's not like he's just like he's not Kiefer Moore from Wales. No offense to Kiefer Moore, but like very different kind of player. Like but like the caliber. But like Harry Kane knows how to score. He knows how to create chances and get open for himself. One shot on was it one touch in the box? He said he had this game?
Yeah, I don't think it finished like that, but for the majority of the second half,
he definitely didn't have
non-existent.
many chances in this match.
No.
No side really did either. It was 8 shots for England, 3 on target, 10 shots, 1 on target for the US. So very, very much like a midfield battle. It was very high pace at some points. It was like back and forth, which probably would fit better for the Americans. But yeah, from the USA standpoint, they just got to get it done. I mean, they got to go against Iran, which is going to be a tough one for them, I think. Iran's got like a lot of supporters there, just based on geography.
Yep.
But yeah, just real quick though, the Iran-Wales game, that was nuts.
Sorry. I want to touch on something real quick because I don't. Jack Grealish, actually, I want to touch on a little bit. Because England had like basically nothing in the second half. Like US was like really taking to them in the first half. Second half, England were really struggling. Because I feel like Jack Grealish gets a lot of slack for not scoring a lot of goals. When he came on, he actually started, picking up the ball and carrying it, running down the field, doing what he did for Villa a lot of time, and getting England possession in the final third, which, I think people are starting to talk about it a little bit more, but you're really starting to notice it. He came on and they started attacking the U.S. on his side. He was drawing fouls, which, we know is kind of what he's also, I don't know if I want to say good at, but kind of just what he does. And he was taking to him, and England were actually starting to get chances. So I just wanted to toss out some of that because, a lot of people say how like stats have killed football, where it's like, oh, you didn't get a goal, you didn't get an assist.
Yeah, you're not doing
like,
anything.
You're not doing anything, but you're getting possession, you're getting your team possession in the final third, and that's leading to getting the ball to your playmakers, getting it to like Declan Rice, Henderson when he came on.
Mason Mount too, in the middle.
And Mason Mount and getting chances to Kane. So that was really good to see. Because I'm definitely a big proponent of, you're not only contributing to your team when you get a goal and you get an assist. Look at Almiron, his first season at Newcastle. A lot of people were talking about it where it's like you can't deny the impact he's having at Newcastle, even though he hasn't like really been on the score sheet or gotten assists. He is, winning possession and holding possession and creating chances in the final third.
And now it's paying off for him too, though. Like now
it is. Yeah, for sure. So just wanted to toss that out there because the game did really change when he came on. So
yeah, he's a big analytics guy, Grealish. He's like an analytics dream because, like you said, he just off the score sheet, he does a lot of running. Like like they always like the tracker of like how many kilometers you run. Like he gets a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think Pep. That's why Pep I think fancies him because he's like
Fancies?
Yeah, well, because he didn't get. I think he even said like I didn't get Jack for his goals and assists, and I think now you're seeing like he gets them because he gets the ball and he brings the ball up the field, and the whole team gets up the field. He's just really good at holding the ball and getting it up the field, which is what really City need because they're best when they're in the team's final third. So if you have a guy like Jack, like you said, the stats don't always show how much he contributes, but yeah.
Now, most of that comes from the fan base. Let's just say what it is. Like fans want goals.
Yeah.
They pay £100 million for him. It's like, what do you do for us? Like you don't score.
Yeah.
You don't get assists. Like why are you here? But
what's
watching the game? It's different than just popping on your phone, looking at the score sheet. Another game, Grealish doesn't score. Like what I mean? It's a very different way to look at the game, right?
What's the stat in hockey that it's like fairly new where it talks about like it's a measurement of a player for how much your team is in the opposing team's when you're on the ice, and it directly translates to how much possession of the puck your team has in the opponent's end.
I forget. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it, but like, I know what you mean. And the same with baseball. Baseball is the biggest analytics sport out there. Like we know from Moneyball. We referenced Moneyball a few times on the show. Wins above replacement. is a huge number for baseball. It's like how many games your team wins when you're in or out of the lineup.
Okay.
And that's kind of similar to like what maybe you're alluding to, Santo. Like, like how many scoring chances your team gets while you're on the ice, like how beneficial you are to the team, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They have that in baseball, and it's like very much looked at. Like the wins above replacement usually number is like, I don't know, like 2 point something, but like for the top guys, it's like 8 point whatever, and it's like the discrepancy between the top 10 players in the league to like everyone else is like huge. Like it's wild. So if they do have that somehow in footy, that'd be great to take a look at. We'll come more prepared next time.
Yeah, get these stats.
I don't
Just drop it on the spot. Like
I don't think it exists right now, or it's not. I feel like it might develop, especially with this new attacking metric coming on. I would want to see how your team's attacking threat varies based on the possession, how much possession you're particularly getting. I feel like it wouldn't be the hardest thing to do. Like how much is the attacking threat increasing for how often you're getting on the ball, and like how effective are you getting your team access to the final third. And so we'll see if that comes out. I feel like that'll really help because there's a lot of players that really contribute to their team that you'll never see on a score sheet that I think deserve more credit.
Someone's brains racking with what you just said. How quickly does your attacking threat tend to go up when you get possession of the ball?
Love
And
it.
like,
Yeah.
that's
someone's
who can measure.
Give a shout out to Oracle. Like find that stat, Oracle. You've done the stats this
Yeah.
year for the EPL and last year. Get it done.
Yeah.
Oracle can relax a little bit though too. Like the win probability one for me is such a pain in the ass. Like,
Yeah.
Win probability and expected goals is kind of funny.
well, it's similar to like with F1 racing. It's like expected to pass in like 6 laps or something like that. Like, you know, you guys seen that one before?
I think we've talked.
Yeah,
you
it's like
brought it up
it's
before.
like I don't know, like a pit stop happens and someone gets new fresh tires and they're now on the chase and it says like Verstappen to pass Hamilton in like 6 laps from now.
Okay.
And it's like, how the hell can you
Like, how do you know this?
like, because it just gets based on like lap time, like how much quicker
Yeah.
the driver behind is going to the driver ahead of them. So it shows them by catching them by lap time. But I've watched racing a lot the last few years, and like when that stat comes on, I just like want to change the channel
Yeah.
because it rarely ever happens.
Yeah.
It ends up being like it says 4 laps, it ends up being like 7 laps, or it doesn't even happen sometimes. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's not frustrating. It's just it's a meaningless.
Yeah.
Yeah,
stat.
it doesn't mean anything because you watch the sport for the instances that you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, just let it unfold because you don't know what implications are going to happen. Like, why would you put out a hypothetical stat that has a lot of factors behind it that might not even allow it to happen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it like defeats the purpose of sport. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's so
so
stupid.
what if Liverpool win 2/3 of the time against Leeds in this scenario? It's like we're not watching it. We're watching it today for what's
Yeah.
gonna happen today.
Man City scores 1 goal against Bournemouth in the 5th minute. It's like 98% win probability, and they end up like losing. It's like, why are you even putting that out there? Yeah. Anyways, a couple of teams that wish their win probability is a lot higher. Argentina, they got a 0 win percentage.
Yeah.
Germany, 0 win percentage. Probably the 2 biggest upsets. I would put the Saudi Arabia versus Argentina as the bigger one of the 2.
I would agree.
Yeah.
On the podcast, we talked about Japan and Germany having a tight battle.
Yep.
Santo alluded to the last World Cup. Japan was the ones that knocked Germany out.
It might have been Korea.
No, it was Japan. I think they referenced it in the broadcast.
Yeah.
Because I think they said something like that. Japan and Germany were the last teams that they played in the last World Cup. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was group stage or if it was knockout round, but like Japan versus Germany was like the last time these 2 teams played a game in a World Cup competition, and then this is the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
Yeah.
So
Either way.
I'm pretty sure it's Japan, Germany. But no, man, the Argentina, Saudi Arabia. This was a fun one. It was the early game on Tuesday. It was a 5 a.m. start for us. I was awake to watch it, and Argentina, man, they didn't surprise me. They didn't do much, to be honest. They got a penalty shot in the first. What was it? 10 minutes of the game. Messi PK scores it. But other than that, like honestly, yeah, the possession stats are always going to be there. We know that. But the goal scoring chances weren't as goal scory as you would think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they weren't like high class, they weren't high quality. A few missed opportunities here and there, but Saudi Arabia, man, they played their asses off this game.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that their performance was bigger or better than what Canada did against Belgium, but it was up there. Like, they played really well.
Yeah.
Different game though too. Like I said, if flip the script, if this would have been how Belgium came out against Canada and we ended up getting the 1-0 loss, but we held on and they played well, then I'd be happy. But in this game, Argentina took it to Saudi Arabia. They had 3 chances. They scored 2 of them on counters and really nice goals. And it's all she wrote, baby. 2-1 win for Saudi Arabia. Like, everyone's waking up to their phones checking the scoreline because no one probably like woke up to watch this game, and they probably thought it was like a typo on there.
Yeah.
2-1 Saudi Arabia, top of the table for them in this group, with Poland, Mexico as they drew 0-0 in their match. So Argentina looking up the group from the bottom there, and same with Germany. You know, Japan 2-1 victors against them. Another penalty for Germany. That's how they score their goal. Japan comes down, makes some lead substitutions. 75th, 83rd minute goals for them, and the Germans just couldn't convert. And it is similar to having it's really similar actually watching Germany play to how Chelsea play sometimes, because they play false 9, like not the pure striker. And so they had Havertz up there trying to like withdraw, be a target man. They had wingers like Gnabry trying to get forward and play well. Musiala, I believe is his name. Good player. Going forward for Germany too, but just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
And Japan just played structured. They played disciplined. Saudi Arabia played disciplined. They, threw 11 guys behind the ball almost every single time. And again, it just goes to show what converting your chances can do and can mean during a game.
Yeah.
I mean, Japan had 12 shots on net, 12 shots at net, 4 on target. Like I said before, Saudi Arabia had 3 and 2. You got to score your chances you got, right?
Germany 26 and 9.
And here's like what's most impressive for me with these upsets, it's that the favorite team scored first.
Correct.
So it's not like an upset where you're sitting back, you're hanging on or whatever, you get a counter and you score. Like they were behind against Argentina, Germany. You're behind on like the biggest clubs in the world, and you just converted your chances and you won. And
both goals not from open play.
Yes.
Penalty shots.
Yeah.
So they get to score. They have to score open play goals. So they weren't able to break down these teams.
Yeah.
And that's what's most impressive for me. I mean, looking at the Saudi Arabia game, I mean, they defended like it was the championship game. Just all out. Messi would get he'd take a touch near the 18, and the players were all over him.
A lot of fouls in this game too, though.
A lot of fouls.
21 fouls for
Saudi Arabia.
For Saudi Arabia.
And 6 yellow cards. But that's it. Like there were some tackles like they made on Messi, like sliding in the box, like perfect tackles, getting the ball off of him. So it's one of those things where I think Saudi Arabia went in, nothing to lose. You're the underdog, and you just showed up to play. I think they caught Argentina off guard. And same with the Japan game. I mean, Japan's second goal. I don't know if maybe you can pull it up here, but just the ball over the top, and his touch to take it forward and to just hold off. I forget who was running behind him there. I don't know if
it wasn't Rudiger.
No. But to hold him off and then just put it near post on Neuer. Like these are not like easy chances to convert. So it was just really good to see. And I just love these types of games. Because it's like a wake up call to the players. Like you're
not just gonna stroll in here.
There's a gap between the teams, but if you're off your game, like teams like Japan are gonna take it to you because they have quality, and they can finish their chances just like this.
Yeah, just the laxness of
yeah.
Like we saw coming back to Canada, Belgium, you saw it too. Belgium was just so lax in that game. The only team I think that's a segue to the next section. Teams that weren't lax, Spain, France, Brazil.
Good games.
Yeah,
Good,
I mean,
good,
they
good
came out
performances.
and like, and you know, I you would think stuff like that comes down to coaching, where it's like, you know, we're not just going to show up, to the World Cup and just roll over teams, and they're gonna let us do it just because like, oh, we're Germany, and oh, we're Argentina. Like teams aren't just gonna like sit down and let us do that. So you have like, yes, you're the better team, but you have to show up because at this level, like everyone's professional. Like teams will hurt you if you're not showing up.
Yeah.
But these teams did, and Spain won pretty big.
7-0.
Yeah.
Biggest win of the World Cup so far. Yeah, Spain looks really, really good. Kind of just what you would expect from a typical Spanish side. 82% possession, but passes. 1,045 passes.
93,
Even more
93.
impressively, 93% pass accuracy.
Even more impressive, 8 shots on target and 7 goals.
So, anyone who likes stats, this is both efficiency and bossing a game.
At its finest.
At its finest.
And
they're just really good. Pedri and Gavi, you know, I think Gavi's still 19 or something, or Pedri's 19. They're just like running the show, and they're teenagers at the World Cup.
I don't think Germany's gonna get out of this group.
Yeah, this was like the group of death that we talked about most in our preview show.
Yeah. Just looking at, I think Spain is playing
20.
Germany tomorrow, I believe. At 2, and Japan's playing Costa Rica. So if Spain beat Germany and Japan beat Costa Rica, Germany is out after
That's false.
What?
The game's on Sunday.
Sunday. Okay.
Big Sunday for Canada, Germany, Spain, Belgium. Like we'll be tuning on Sunday.
Ooh.
Mark your calendars. You know, clear your schedule Sundays. That's gonna be
Let me see.
good ones.
Yeah, Japan, Costa Rica. Yeah, that Japan wins that game. Germany's gonna be like, oh, dear. Like, you have to win your game or you're out. Crazy.
Yeah. No. Spain, Germany. Is that probably like the biggest head-to-head that we're gonna see?
In the group stage, I think so.
Yeah.
Most
I would
likely.
say
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if Germany shows up like they did against Japan, Spain's going to literally walk all over them too. So they got to show up. Like I said, like you have to, you're not just going to go into a game and Spain's going to give you respect just because they will because you're Germany. But if you don't show up, they're going to take you by the jugular.
Yeah, different. Right by the jugular. different playing styles too. Spain, Germany, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at like whenever we've seen before in the past, like Real Madrid playing against Bayern Munich in some form of the Champions League, it's like it's enticing game because Spain's gonna play high possession, Germany's gonna like defend more than likely and try and convert 1 or 2 chances, but Spain's just gonna try and pump them and we'll see if Germany can maybe counterattack to those chances. I don't know. I don't see them as being like a quick counterattacking side. The Germans really, they're more tactical. They're more take pride on defense, I guess. But to blow these 2 chances against, or to blow 2 goals against Japan, basically on breakdowns too. They weren't like, again, kind of alluding to like the Canada-Belgium game, and they didn't come from a build-up. It wasn't class. It was just like, oh, let's just dink a long ball over top and like see what happens. And I feel like we can maybe see that more and more as the tournament goes on because, like, it's still 90 minutes, but I feel like your time is shorter, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's no different than what you do in qualifying. It's no different than what you do for your club team. It's still 90-minute game, but in the World Cup, it just seems so much more condensed and under a microscope that like when you don't finish a chance or when you don't, play as well as you should or whatever it is, it means so much more.
Yeah.
Like it's bigger, right? The impact is bigger.
Yeah, you're only guaranteed 3 games. And
Yeah.
If you lose your first, like we talked about, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, big time. And so that was the Spain game. France with the no Benzema, doesn't seem like they're really going to miss him. I mean,
not.
Obviously they will. Pushing further into the knockout rounds most likely. But is he for sure gone for the whole tournament? I don't know his actual injury status.
I don't know. I didn't check. I know he said he's out. He put a post up saying how, I'm out. And I gotta give the the spot to someone else.
Okay.
But
Someone else is Mbappe, so like I think they're okay. Like, they're gonna be all right.
Giroud,
I
Giroud,
think it's just
Mbappe, and
the whole World Cup.
Dembele. I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think they're doing okay.
And like low key too, this game as well. Like Australia coming out firing, scored a goal in the first 9 minutes, took the lead. It only lasted 18 minutes or so, but these big countries, man, they kind of start off a bit slow, is what we're noticing, right?
Yeah.
Is it because they're maybe undermining their competition a little bit, and they don't think they have to come out firing, or they're kind of complacent?
I feel like it has something to do with that. I find it really interesting that it's happening this World Cup because I saw this online, which it's pretty obvious, but it's just a thought that never crossed my mind. Usually for the World Cup and Euro Cup, you have players going in and they've had like a month off from their domestic leagues. So we all know what it's like to have a month out playing footy. You get back at your first game and it's a little like rusty even after a month of not playing. Now, obviously, teams have, they have matches in between, keeping them fresh or whatnot. It's not the same when you're playing in games that actually matter. We all know that. But for this World Cup, you had players that played like a week and a half ago, and then come into Qatar and then playing again. So they're up to speed. They're in form. So they're just playing like they're normally going to play in their season, and I feel like that's helping those players, obviously, because they're just in form, right? So, we saw with some games, like England, for example, just took it in their first game, but I'm surprised that they're like the big teams aren't coming out firing in that instance where you're just in your season, you're just playing more games. So I don't know if it's kind of just undermining teams and thinking that it's going to be easier than it actually is, but I don't know. I like it because in the past we all know it's like if Germany went against Japan, this is still an upset. I feel like 10 years ago it was like an even bigger upset. I feel like just every country is obviously getting better and better as time goes on. So it's making these a lot more interesting for me of why these upsets are happening.
I was gonna say it's like every country's better. Like you look at the African countries and South American and like what they used to be and how they were like pushover teams and stuff. But like Ghana didn't back down to Portugal. Mm-hmm. Senegal came out firing today against Qatar, got 3-1 win. Ecuador ties Netherlands and they beat.
They probably should have won that game.
Yeah, they really should have. And they beat. Who they beat? Senegal. They beat Senegal. No,
Ecuador beat Qatar.
that's right.
Yeah.
So they're right there. Like they're playing very well, and the level of competition. Yes, there is still like obscurities where it's like you have like just godly teams. Mm-hmm. Like you have Brazil still, you have France, you have Spain, England. Let's just say them too. But that standings go and show it. World rankings go and show it. That doesn't mean anything sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at England and USA today. On paper, the U.S. side is like probably one of the youngest teams or countries in the tournament by far. England, very young as well, but experienced. A lot of these guys have already played in the European Cup 2 years ago. They made it to a final.
Yep.
Like Saka was there, obviously Rashford, Mount, Kane, Grealish. Like all these guys were there playing in the European final. What were these guys from the U.S. doing?
Mm-hmm.
They're maybe trying to do CONCACAF qualifying against Jamaica at the same time.
Yeah.
So this is their first big opportunity in the World Cup. They go against England, kind of like what Santo alluded to with Saudi Arabia. Nothing to lose. You get a 0-0 draw against England.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to do what you have to do to get by and to get wins and get points. And I'm sure, we've done one game per group so far.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of footy to play. We're going to see a lot more upsets, I would assume. Mm-hmm. I forget, one of you said it, like the favorite doesn't always win, or like whatever it was. Our preview episode. I think you said one of you said like the favorites don't always win or something.
Oh yeah, like I know there's gonna be upsets.
Yeah, it's
there's
what
gonna be
happens.
upsets.
It's what happens for sure. And we were able to see a couple of them pretty quick,
pretty
early on, and it's gonna set up like a really enticing, a few more weeks to come. I think the final is December the 18th. So from now until December 18th, we got a lot more footy to unpack. and unfold. I think big surprise teams like Japan, Saudi Arabia, Ecuador, Senegal getting a win today was big for them too.
Mm-hmm.
Teams that still really have to like make a mark, Denmark, Mexico, Poland, all getting nil-nil draws. They have to kind of like put their foot down. Croatia, they're gonna want to bounce back against Canada on Sunday, right? John Herdman came out and said that we're gonna go fuck Croatia up. I think is what he said.
Yeah.
So like,
And then Croatia came out with in their tabloid. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
What?
They came out with a picture on their newspaper with Herdman. I'll just show it to you guys. I want to look up what Croatia came out with about Herdman after he said that. Herdman did come out and say that he meant no disrespect, but he just says like you have to come out against like the top teams. But yeah, just came out with a tabloid. Gonna wait for the picture to load here, but it's just Herdman basically naked except for a Canada flag just covering his mouth and his private area. This is in the Croatian tabloid there. Very I don't know. It's very strange that like it's like I feel like if this whole thing didn't happen, it would have just kind of been like a regular match. I feel like someone made a good point where it's turning into a grudge match where Croatia's going to be like, all right, well, like, F you, Canada, here we come.
Yeah.
it could have backfired on Herdman a little bit there, like added extra motivation to Croatians now too, right?
Yeah. Part of me thinks that, I mean, this is probably like reading too much into it, but if he just did this to put the attention on him and not Davies, which is entirely possible, but I don't personally think it is.
Wouldn't put it past him, to be honest, though. He seems like a pretty genuine coach,
Yeah.
like a player's coach. Like I feel like if their opportunity did come for him to draw attention away from his players, I feel like he would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in this tournament where it's like you're under a microscope for an entire month.
Yeah.
It's not like in CONCACAF where you played 2 games in 10 days and then you fuck off for like 3 weeks or like 3 months or something. You don't see national play again, where like it would just die off on its own. But like I said, this might have done the opposite effect and maybe put Croatia in a more motivated state as well.
I mean, maybe
We'll see Sunday.
But
But
maybe like that kind of game, like maybe a composed Croatia is not what we want to face.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
well, they were pretty composed against Morocco, to be honest, man. They didn't do nothing. And I was watching the game and I'm like, if this is the best they have to put forward against, quote, the worst team in our group,
Yeah.
I don't know, because like it was a pretty boring game, to be honest. Just look at some of the stats of Morocco and Croatia.
5.
8
Not a lot
shots
going
were
on.
8-5 in favor of Morocco. They both only had 2 on net. Lots of fouls. Yeah, possession was heavily favored to Croatia, but again, they didn't really do anything from it. They didn't really create too much. I don't know.
Interesting.
I do think they're going to come out a little bit stronger, or they're going to want to come out stronger than they did against Morocco when they play Canada on Sunday. But at the same time, I think maybe Canada, I don't want to say we overachieved against Belgium, but we showed that we can play at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
So in my point of view, we probably can't play much better than that.
No.
Like in a game, we can play like that and score, which would be better. But the way that we played that game, I don't think we can play much better. So if we do play a little bit worse than we did against Belgium, it's like, how much worse are we going to play?
Yeah.
Where like, I don't want that to be brought down like so much that we played so bad that we end up losing to this game against Croatia, or we don't play well against them. Because like when you come out firing like we did and the way that we did, like you can only play down now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like, it's a tough game to gauge of like how we're going to come out.
Yeah.
Because if we do the same thing against Croatia, that we did against Belgium, like I'll be a happy guy. We got to score.
If we score.
We got to make the goals. But if we play the same tempo, the same tactical, setup that Herdman wants to do, our guys buy into like how, to play tournament play. We could do some damage in this tournament. We just got to score.
Yeah. I think I'm interested to see how we're going to do in a knockout round if we get there, because it's a totally different game plan. but I really want to see how we manage those games. Just see how Herdman takes it to teams.
Yeah. I think if we do, like, we finish second, which is looking the most likely, obviously, now. I think we'd play, like, someone France, maybe, Brian was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not totally sure. We don't have the bracket, but yeah, we'll have to see. Like Andrew said, we got to score next game. I have a feeling
understatement of like the tournament. You got to score.
Yeah. I get the feeling we'll probably play similarly. Like I would be very shocked if we come out flat against Croatia after losing 1-0 against Belgium, playing like the best we've probably ever played. So if we come out of Croatia flat, then it's like, hey, then we don't really deserve to move on. Like, yeah.
If it's back-to-back performances with no result, then you don't deserve to beat Morocco.
Yeah.
in the third game, which would probably mean nothing, or it'd be.
Yeah.
You need a lot to go your way if you draw this match or don't get something positive coming from it. All right, so I think that's probably gonna wrap it up, though, guys.
Yeah.
That was a good episode. That was fun. Finally got to like let it out,
Yeah.
The real emotion. I was like just venting to you guys for 3 or 4 days. Just one last thing I want to add. The added time for each game.
Yeah, because we touched on this on
the first few games. I was like, what the hell's going on? Because there was like 15 minutes of added time for one of the matches, and I know there's a long injury that happened in that game. But then I kept seeing other matches where I'm watching the game and there's barely any injuries, not much added time should be like put forth, and it's like 7 minutes.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
But then it comes out, Colina, the ex Italian official who's like in charge of the FIFA officiating for this tournament, came out and said that they basically want to make the added injury time more representative of the actual amount of time gone throughout the game. So normally we would see a couple injuries, the throw-in takes a little bit longer, substitutions, 3 minutes, which like it's not really 3 minutes. They just put 3 minutes out there because they can. When now they're adding up this time, they're making it more accurate. That 3 minutes of like BS time is now actually 9 minutes. And they play a full 9 extra minutes of the game.
Yeah.
What's your guys' take on that?
I'm not the biggest fan.
Thank you.
Personally. Because in the past it was like you have a 90-minute game, like you understand some of that time is gonna be like used up for just like whatever. And then when there's substitution, there's injuries, there's like, yeah, okay, you have like a guy on the ground, not a serious injury, which obviously, in serious cases, it's a lot of extra added time. But when it's just like minor things, usually it's like, all right, you add like 30 seconds, 45 seconds for each of those like minor instances where it's not you're adding the entire time because it's a 90-minute game and that's just part of the game. So you just add on a little bit for stuff that's just taking it up. That's always the approach that they've taken, and I've always liked it. Just like adding so much extra time, I feel like it makes the 90 minutes like more meaningless. Because like, all right, 90 minutes is coming up, but don't worry, we're gonna have like 10 more minutes after this. But it's like 90 minutes is coming up. That's like you're gonna have a little bit of time, but you have to like perform for those 90 minutes because then it's like. I don't know. It's just like 90 minutes gonna end. You still have like tons of time after. I'm not a huge fan.
And like footy is obviously like the only big time sport that doesn't have like a set clock.
Yeah,
like it's a running time. Obviously, there's no commercials for 45 minutes a half. Like it's not football or hockey where you get predetermined stoppages for commercials and all this other crap. So the fact that they don't have a hard stop time, yes, you do have to add time for other things, but again. I think it was the Portugal-Ghana game yesterday. It was like 9 minutes of added time, and I was watching it with a friend of ours, a close friend, and he's like, "That's 10% of a game. They're just adding on to the end of a game."
Yeah,
like that's like
it's a lot.
That's a lot, and mind you, they're doing the same thing at halftime as well. You're playing 6 minutes of extra time at the end of the first half.
Yeah,
plus 9 minutes. That's 15 minutes of added time. You're basically playing as if you went to extra time and played the first half of extra time on like a 0-0 game.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah, it has felt like a lot. I mean, I get the spirit of it where it's like it's really going to unincentivize teams to time waste. Because like, hey, if you time waste, it's going to be like 7 extra minutes of added time. It's like, do you really want that? So on one hand, that's a good thing. Yeah, it's tough because I really don't like time wasting. But I think what they have to do is add on the added time for like big injuries and for like when you see someone like time wasting.
Yeah,
like there's no
it's obvious, then
yeah, like just add on. Like he's like, oh, they're on the ground. We'll just add this time on. But like I don't know. Like to be honest, I don't know where they're getting all the extra time from. It's like, oh, every throw in, let's calculate every single throw in, how long goal takes.
They probably got a guy somewhere.
Yeah. So I think maybe it just might take a little bit more thought into what time they're actually adding on, and maybe that'll reduce it from like 9 to like maybe 5 or something. Which, if more often than not, like if we get more like 5 minutes of extra time versus like 2 or 3, maybe that does make sense. But like we've seen like 12, like whatever it is, which is like a lot.
Like I'm all for, like we've seen 5 minutes in EPL on a Saturday. It happens, right?
Yeah, and that's a lot.
And that's a lot.
Like fans are pumped when it's 5 minutes.
First
and they're losing.
game of the tournament, it was Qatar and Ecuador. And it was like 11 minutes of added time. I'm like, what is this? And at this point, I didn't know that there was like a mandate put forth by FIFA to do this. I wasn't aware. So then I saw the next game. It was like 7. Next game 9. Next game 7. I'm like, what is happening?
Something's happening
right now. Like, and I was the biggest one so far that like I really was raging at was Japan and Germany, because it was 2-1 Japan at the point. When the 90-minute hit, I'm like, cross my fingers. I'm okay. Like, what's it going to be? 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on. Like, so obviously I'm going for Japan in this case. I'm like, 8 minutes of added time?
Yeah.
Like, for what? Like, I watched the majority of that game. I'm like, there's not 8 minutes of time that should be out of here. Like, maybe 3, and they give him 8. And they held off. So kudos to them. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
I do want to touch real quick on Brazil.
Okay, yeah. We kind of overlooked them a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they just totally bossed. I mean, it was 2-0, but they, for me, are just like they're the favorites for me, more so than they were before the tournament started. Looking at their bench and just looking at how they were playing,
very well-rounded team.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a lot. Like Spain has their their passing possession play, but like Brazil was just like threatening 100% of the time. They would just have passes coming in from Casemiro and Paqueta from the mid, just a pass that like you just don't see, and they just pick out Richarlison or Rafinha, and they just have a chance out of nowhere. I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of their games because they were just very, very fun to watch. For me, Spain is probably the other team, but for me, more so Brazil is the only team, again, next to Spain, that I think can compete with like the top club teams in like England and Spain and Italy. Because obviously, with an international team, they tend to be weaker than club teams because like there's just gaps you can't fill. But I don't know. They just looked very strong. Shout out to Richarlison for scoring a brace and scoring probably like goal of the tournament with a scissor kick. I asked Joe like why he was starting over Jesus.
Why is he starting instead of Jesus? Like, I don't know.
That's why.
That's why.
And he's not like a striker either on Tottenham, or even on Everton. He wasn't playing that role. He's like
he's like on the right side of the 3 usually.
Yeah, front 3 there.
So a little different dynamic from Brazil.
Yeah,
because again, they don't really have like a striker. Even Gabriel Jesus, I wouldn't put him as a striker. I put him as like not even like a false 9, but he's just like an added player that would like complement another striker.
Yeah.
Like we see like for Arsenal, it's like Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka. Like they're not like they don't just stick to their positions. They kind of roam all through the field and interchange and everything. So for them to put Richarlison up top as like a number 9, basically, kind of interesting to see from Brazil because we don't really normally see that from them because they just don't have that kind of player. But he's a great target man. He's a tall guy too, lanky body. He can win the ball in the air. He can, hold up play if he has to. And like you said, when you have like Casemiro sending you like a 40-yard pass like on the ground, like I saw a couple. He like some nice 3 balls that he played.
Yeah.
And then behind you, Rafinha, Vinicius Jr., Neymar, like, fuck, you could put me up there and I just say, hey, just give it to these guys. And like,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't really have to do too much.
Yeah.
But no, they outplayed a Serbian side who was probably the second best team in this group, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alongside Switzerland, maybe they kind of go toe to toe. I think we mentioned in the podcast leading up that they'll probably have to battle each other to get second place in the group.
Yeah.
But in this game here, I mean, you could see they were very much outclassed by Brazil. Like, they didn't have many chances. Mitrovic was a ghost out there. He didn't really do much. Even like when Vlahovic came in, I'm surprised that he didn't get the start on this one. When he came in, same kind of thing. Like he just got shut down. He didn't play very well, and they'll find it tough. I think Serbia to perform against even the likes of Switzerland or Cameroon in the next couple of games, because I just don't think they have that creative sense. Like they have guys that can score. Mitrovic and Vlahovic have scored, 50 goals a piece, or 50 goals total in the last like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Like they got tons of goals like on their account, but it's all about who's getting the ball, right? A lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if they have like that dynamic player to do that. But Brazil, like you said, no gaps, no holes. Like that back line, Danilo, Marquinhos, Silva, and Sandro. Yeah, they're getting a bit older, they're aging, but they can still hang.
Yeah.
And if you do get past them, you got Alisson in net.
And then if Alisson gets hurt, you have Ederson.
They're deep. They got a really good squad.
Very deep.
They got a very good squad. Definitely one to watch going forward, as we thought, because they were the favorite going in anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had the highest betting odds to win.
Yep.
I believe it was them, France, and then
Argentina.
yeah. Ooh, tough.
Yeah, we'll see now.
We'll see what it is now. It's probably drastically changed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think that's it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, Croatia, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Nice little plug for TSN there. Everyone better watch it. Watch the other games on that day. There's gonna be some big ones, like we said, Spain and Germany. If you get up for it, watch Belgium. Well, I think Belgium's at the 8 o'clock game actually.
Yeah.
Belgium and Morocco, 8 o'clock. What a time!
Yeah.
Like,
World Cup fever is here.
it's officially here. All right, so I think that's it. We will chat next week after all the week's action.
See everyone.
See ya.
Ciao.
We'll be right back.